Hello, nerds, geeks, and all variants in between. I'm Tony Diane, and this is Of Nerds and Geeks, pop culture from a certain point of view. Today, we'll be talking with Jay Conelly, the creator and publisher of Fate 68 Comics. Let's find out how he went from being a cop to a comic book publisher. Let's go. Okay, I'm here with Jay Conelly. He's the head writer, co-creator of Fate 68 Comics, as well as an actor. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for being on the show. I think my audience is going to really enjoy your really super interesting story and your line of comic books.
Oh, man, I'm more happy to be here. I love doing this.
You're too kind. Just for my audience's sake, who is Jay Conelly and how did you get started into comic books?
Jay Conelly. Well, he's a guy that made a lot of weird choices in his life and decided that comic book life and fiction, and decided that he wanted to enjoy comic books growing up as a kid, and found that as a way to connect to some people in his school and neighborhood and make good friends out of it, and had nothing but good memories to relate to with it. And as time went on, just had that desire to want to write and do stuff. Started a comic book store with my stuff back in '97, and somehow got the weird idea that being a police officer would be, I think I did read too many comic books back then. That's probably why I did it. And
so you were a police officer before all this?
Yes, 20 years.
Thank you for your service on that too.
I appreciate it, but it's really it's more humbling not to hear it. People say that a lot, and I'm like, hey, it's what we do. It's why we're
here. Apologize if I offended, but I understand.
No, I'm not offended at all. It's just one of those weird things. It's like, people say it to me all the time, and it's just, I don't know. It's a weird thing. It's like you never think about it when you're. It's just like life to you. You don't realize to other people it's different, but to you it's normality. It's like reading comics to me is normal. Some people that think it's crazy, so it's just kind of like that. So
never crazy in our world, ever crazy, never. The geeks shall inherit the earth, as I like to say. I went from being shoved in lockers in high school to people calling me now and asking me now about, the next MCU movie came out. What's the back history of this character? Things change, man. Just like for you, going from being a cop to open a comic store, now to have your own comic line. That's got to be exciting and scary.
It is. Well, the scary part wasn't starting the comic book company. I guess the scary part was the acting, if anything. But the scary part in terms of the comic book was the popularity it got so fast. Because when I first did it, it was a bucket list. It was a story I wrote, and I had a whole bunch of stories I wrote that I intended for movies. Growing up, you write movie scripts all the time, and you never think, oh, it's actually going to be that. So I said to myself after I retired, I was like, what am I going to do? And I spoke it over with the wife, and I said, I just want to publish one comic book. It's on my bucket list, and she supported it. Was able to get everything together and did it. And lo and behold, the popularity because of the story.
So what year did you start? What year did you actually start Fate 68 Comics?
2 years ago this November.
Okay, so
and that's what's the scary part is that, and when we did it, it was a one and done deal, but I started getting flooded with emails because everybody wanted to know what happened next. And then I did the second issue, third issue of our flagship of Dolls. Then my brain, ADHD, whatever you want to call it, kicked into overdrive, and I found myself sitting up at night writing stories for other titles and things. And so I'm actually 12 months ahead with stories.
And that's great because
wrote.
It's also impressive because within 2 years, you already have, according to yourself, I believe, 7 titles out already.
Right. We got 7 titles, got a few more in the works. And the cool thing about it is when I write them, even though they're different titles, they all connect as one universe. So you may end one story with one book, but it'll end and pick up in another title, which picks up, and they all connect. And I leave it, no pun intended, since I do work with Netflix, like a Netflix show. You can't just, or a Lay's potato chip, you can't just watch or eat one. They get you hooked. So I try to, okay, I got to see what happens next. Unfortunately, I'm not blessed with an income to be able to put them out monthly, or I would, because I just want to get them out so fast. I enjoy the stories just as much as I do the artist and the artwork that's done for it, but so much so that I know people are buying the books a lot of times for some of these artists that are working for us now, that I give everybody like a free reader's copy when I can, because I want them to read the book. I see people that come to the conventions all the time. They buy a collectible limited print. I always keep a stack of direct editions. I'm like, here, I want you to take it because I want you to read it.
And I think that's probably a good idea, because I pretty much saw this on, I think, Facebook. You guys had the ad up there, and so I was like, oh, well, that's super curious. They're giving this away. I want to check it out. Yeah, and I thumbed through it, and I saw the artwork was great, and saw your list of artists. I was like, oh, that's impressive. But a couple of things I liked about it too is that you had articles in here too. It wasn't just like a trade press of like, look at what we do. You also evaluate other comic books. You have a great article in there about pressing comic books, which is controversial in some circles. And then you also got some nice nostalgic stuff, like these classic ads in the back, just for fun. And
Yeah.
I think my point is that I think you have a great idea there with like giving like the first one, or the zero issue. No, it's the number one. Give the number one away for free, because it made me want to contact you and say, I read through it. This is super interesting. Maybe I'll buy a couple of titles. I mean, good marketing. So I guess is my point. So is it still available for free or no?
Oh, I appreciate that. The first one?
Yeah.
I got a few of those first ones left, and I give them out to whoever I see.
Okay.
Whenever they run across, I have it, because honestly, yeah, it's called Fate Magazine, but the idea came from me because you can go to social media with things that you have in your mind, or you see people in the comic book world, they have issues with certain things or things, but all that does is just divide you with everybody. So I said, you know what? Wizard Magazine used to put out these articles, these little fun things, and I enjoyed it, and I just wish it would come back. So I said, you know what? The hell with it. If I can't get somebody else to do it, I'm going to do it myself. So that's what I did.
I think that's great. I think the modern generation kind of missed out on what Wizard gave us, because we never really had a magazine for the trade industry of comic books back then. The closest thing I even get to comic book news in a magazine back in the day was a magazine called Starlog, if you remember that one.
Yes. Yep. I remember Starlog. All those things people are buying now because they miss it. Well, the good thing is about Fate, yeah, it's my brand, but the problem is it's not set just towards everything about us. It's the entire independent. No DC. You'll be lucky to see an Image book in there. It's all independent comics, and it doesn't matter if it's somebody that's outselling Fate or not. If they're doing good, they're going to be in the top 10. We're straight. We're unbiased. We put it out there like it is. So you're not buying an advertising book for Fate Magazine. You're buying an old school Wizard style book that's going to give you straight, honest answers.
And myself personally, I love that, because much like this channel, I like the idea that you're going after the indie comic book, because they need a lot of support. One, because there's so many out there. It's a cottage industry. So many people are trying, but there's so much competition. But with such a flood of things, it's hard to know where to look sometimes, right? So if you have somebody who's publishing a top 10, or is like, hey, here's a new indie artist, look, check out his or her book, it's wonderful. I think that's a good thing. I really hope that turns out to be something. So out of curiosity, could you tell us the origin of the name Fate 68?
I would love to, because there's so many, what is the word I'm looking for? Conspiracy theories of what Fate 68 means.
Conspiracy theory.
Some people think it's it's like they either think it's we are a mature book, but before I get into it, I just want to clarify, just because we are a mature read, we are not to the extent of the Invincibles or the boys books. So whenever somebody wants to say something negative about a mature book on us, we are far less graphic than the Invincibles or the Boys. Just putting that out there because I hear that a lot. But we also avoid anything gratuitous. I do have, like, if there is a nude scene or anything, it's not just because we just want it in there. Everything that we do has a purpose. It's for the storyline, not gratuitous. And I just wish that I could get that across, because we get people asking us, is like, what is it, 68? Because it's like one below 69, yada, yada. But it's a lot less simple, or a lot more simple than what they think. When I was doing work as a cop, I did a lot of salvage clearing of houses and stuff. I came across a bunch of things that were real old, and I thought, how cool it'd be to sew on the side. And I wanted to call it something cool, like American Pickers did, or something. I couldn't come up with a name. And I said, it's got to be salvage something. What could it be? Salvage something. So I told myself, I said, I'm going to do what the people used to do all the time. The next item I look at, and the first word or numerals or whatever I see, that's going to be the name. And as a matter of fact, I wish I brought it in here. It's in the next room. There's a newspaper that was on the ground of this old house that was dated during the assassination of Kennedy. The year 19, first thing I looked, I said 1968. 1968 salvage. That's what I'm going to call it. And that's what I did. And the name stuck. Well, for those that know me personally, and those that gotten to know me, they know my whole life I've had one love, and that one love was Olivia Newton-John. My whole life. I grew up with her.
Adores her.
Yes, anything about her. The day she died, I think I was in the 3-day mourning period. Well, growing up through middle school, high school, whatever it was, whenever I won and had put it was always O and J. I even had O and J on my high school ring, whatever it was. So I wanted something to honor her. And so there's a song, Strange Twist of Fate, that she did.
I know it.
So I took the word fate that rhymed with 68, put it together, and it flowed real easy. And that's how it came. Right.
But I do admire the way you came up with the title, because a lot of people get locked for ideas. There's so many ideas out there that are similar, and it's hard to come up with something original. But by combining two random things to come up with something new, you can make something new and synergetic out of it. So I applaud you for that. Can you give us a quick rundown?
Appreciate it.
Just give it kind of like a quick rundown of, like, the titles you have, what genre they may fall into, without going too much into the story, but just kind of give us an idea of, like, what your 7 titles are, what the genre is, and then if you want to tell, like, maybe if there is an overall arcing story, maybe how they all connect at the end, so people can find a nice ease way into your universe.
All right. Well, I'll start with the last part. No, I am not going to tell you how they all connect, because that ruins the excitement. But
fair enough. I had to try.
We have our flagship. Hey, you're not the only one. Every convention, they want to know who is this guy that y'all teasing is in this universe.
Right.
I'm like,
exactly. It's like everyone wants to know. So the titles.
Yeah. We got our flagship title, which is Dolls. And it's DOLS, and before everybody gets upset, it's Daughters.
Lord Shade, I love that.
Yeah, but it is not what the title seems to be. You need to read the book before you start throwing preaching stuff at me, like my family has been doing. I'm like, read the book. I was like, the name. Just tell them there are worse
titles out there. You're fine.
Out there. It's that Dolls. Then we have Pumpkin, which I'm going to go on record again, was a title we came up with and copyrighted. And once we did, somebody decided to steal it from us and put it out 3 months before ours did. And because they are in a different country, our attorneys said that we can't really do anything legal.
Copyright laws are different in every country.
Right, and they've been called out. They know who they are. I ain't worried. There's room enough in this world for everybody, and if you feel like you have to take something in mind, hey, so be it. Whatever. Life is life. I'm sure George Lucas knows how that feels.
Yeah.
So, there's Pumpkin. then we have a book called Sugar Cookie. It's two twins that actually came from the Pumpkin series world that took place in 1980. They're two twin girl bouncers. They spawn off into their own series called Sugar. They're Sugar and Cookie. And then from there, we have Living Dead Girl, which I want to put a plug in, is coming out around the end of November, and it's going to be the biggest title that is about to be released. And she is connected to the Dolls universe, which you won't find out right away, but is definitely connected to the Dolls universe because she was around during the time of the Dolls story. And I'll go ahead and give a shout out to those Greg Bo Watson fans. It's a collaboration idea between me and Greg Bo Watson. And Cookie is Greg Bo Watson's character he designed that is in there. So those of you that are a fan of his own work, older work, and some of the stuff he does, the first collaboration he's done since Zenoscope has been with us. And he has got a character he designed for Sugar Cookie, and he collaborated to help us create Living Dead Girl. So big help to him. And let's see here, we got Living Dead Girl. Then we got an anthology series that actually is set up to kind of have a bunch of different, like your horror anthologies or Creep Show and stuff like A Strange Twist of Fate. So it's an anthology series. And then we have I can't tell you the last one just because it's the name of the person that everybody wants to know who is the guy that is the character that you're looking at. Well, he's got his own title.
And you also have a two-part miniseries of J.P. Comix, correct?
I forgot. So I got 8. I didn't even realize. Okay.
That's what I'm here for, man. I'm here to keep you in line and help you along.
All right. I got 8. Yeah, The Adventures of J.P. Comix. It's a 2-part miniseries. We just finished with second. It was a sleeper hit for me.
What's the tone of that one?
Well, it's a 1940s noir story, and about a detective that had everything go wrong, and her family murdered. That just went down this rabbit hole, and then just something pulled her out of this rabbit hole. That whole storyline. And here's the deal. I did this miniseries as a filler. I wrote J.P. Comix about 6 years before any title as a movie. And in between my Dolls series, Dolls 1, 2, and 3, I was like, okay, I need a filler between Dolls 2 and 3 because I want to try to keep something going, so I want people to have. So I said, you know what? I'll do a miniseries of this thing. I'll just put it out there. Lo and behold, it's been the best story that we've got the 5 stars out of everybody that even Netflix took account and wanted to put a movie out for it.
Oh, where's that at?
So now the trouble is putting her back in the universe because every single one of my titles, and come to find out, we wrote the next 6 titles connecting J.P. Comix to every single bit of it, where she's probably like the godmother of the entire universe. So if you missed out on J.P. Comix, you're missing out on something that's going to be extremely worth your while to get when everything comes out, because it all revolves around that 2-part miniseries now.
So you're basically really earning that universe title by having a multi-generational story happening that's going to evolve and fold over multiple generations and things trickling down from one to the other. That's very nice.
We got one title that's from the 70s and 80s. We got another one that's a modern. We got one that's biblical. And I'll tell you how it works without telling you the character. I have created a character that has gotten the power to be able to create a time jump portal.
Okay.
And he can go anywhere he wants. And that's the main guy that connects the entire universe. And people are trying to figure out who he is, and they won't find out. They might if they read the J.P. Comix issue 2, because the very end, the last panel, is kind of a spoiler for it. But
did you just give it all away? Did you just sell the farm?
Well, no, because that book's out, and those that read it have sent me messages and said, hey, that was a great one. It's going to be awesome for the movie, but I don't know, that last page and that last panel seemed a little too science fiction-y for the movie. And I said, yeah, we're not going to put that in it. I said, but
gotcha.
it plays a huge part of the universe.
I think it'd be really neat that when you get to the point down the line, maybe a couple of titles as the story expands, it'd be neat to see published a sort of timeline, from like the beginning of where the story starts all the way how it spreads throughout the ages up to like the modern day.
Yeah.
I think I personally like timelines. I'm nerdy that way. I like timelines, see how things evolve. So that could be fun to see eventually.
I get chills just thinking about it. I get chills because I mean, I wrote it and I know where the story's going, and it just kills me to not tell it right away. And I want people to read it because they'll love it, because I'm biased. I wrote it, but it's just weird how.
I hear you. I mean, as a filmmaker and a storyteller myself, I know exactly what you mean. It's like when you want to, you're on the cusp of a story. It's like, yeah, but I'm gonna wait. Just go ahead, watch it, do whatever. I'm good. I'll wait to get to issue 7. You're fine. But I feel you, brother. I feel you. Very exciting though to be in that creative space.
People. Yeah, I've given a lot of little things. Like I've been asked all the time. They said, "Give me an elevator pitch for dolls." Why should I said, okay, elevator pitch. I said, first of all, I'll do my little wording in the beginning that says, these do not reflect my views on what I believe or how I think. It's just a story. People, it's just a story. There's no real Jedis. I hate to break your bubble. This is just a story.
No, stop it.
I know. Sorry. There's a force out there, but I doubt it's going to do what you want it to do. So basically, the elevator pitch is like the number one thing since written history that has caused more dissension, wars, murder among men and people since the dawn of time. People always go, money. I said, no, the Holy Bible. The one thing that was meant to bring everybody together has caused more division than anything in the entire world. Now, what if it was the devil that wrote the Bible and made you believe it was God, and that was his plan from the beginning? And people went, whoa. I said, there you go. That's the elevator pitch for dolls. And I said, and then you can take it from there and read it and find out what happens.
It'd be the best PR propaganda scam in the entire history of the universe.
Yeah.
And a very cool idea, I might add, to boot for fantasy. I like it.
Fantasy. Yes. Fantasy. I don't need no clergyman knocking on my door, okay? I got an aunt and an uncle that have been doing that already.
Okay. Well, everyone's, not to get too fine of a point on this, but everyone's entitled to their belief system. I don't knock anybody.
Absolutely.
And even when it comes to fantasy stuff, it's all fair game because we live in it.
And because you mentioned that, I'll say this.
Sure.
In future issues, it is the only way to be right, and I believe, and everybody has their right. It is not based around just one God. You're going to see in future issues of dolls, every God that has been worshipped and thought of through existence makes an appearance and has a storyline throughout the whole series, as well as the universe of so it's not like, oh, it's just a Christianity God. It's
right.
Like,
it's if you don't
Islam, you're going to have.
So if you don't prescribe to one, you include all, and then to make it more open for everyone to accept and read. I agree. Good
there's
thinking.
Multiple gods. It's not one God. There's multiple gods, and those multiple gods, they created what they wanted, and they made it apart. So that's how this story goes.
Perfect. Now, guys, I'm going to include links down below where you can go find out about his comic books, buy his comic books, and probably read some panels and check out the awesome artwork on a lot of these. I've been to their site. They got some nice pencils at the bottom of their page. You guys are going to really want to drool over. They're just really beautifully well done. But I'll include those links down below. So speaking of Fate 68 Comics, and you clearly have a vast landscape of how you want this thing to unravel, and you're slowly, I guess you're slowly putting your own puzzle pieces together, the grand story I thought that'll eventually play out. What do you see for the future of Fate 68 Comics and yourself?
Well, I can tell you this, my drive to keep going is that whenever I see other companies, whether it's Marvel, independent companies like, Coffin, I respect, and their success, it I can sit back and be jealous, or I can say, I got to be better. I got to be better. That's my drive. I got to be better. It may take me who knows how long, but until I feel like I've reached the pinnacle of that top, and then once, even if I feel like I'm there, then it's a keep going. As long as people keep telling me I'll never get there or I'll never do it, I'm going to keep going forward. That's why I did what I did. Somebody told me it was a stupid idea to start a company. It was a stupid idea to be a cop. You shouldn't be 9 to 5. Like, sorry, should never have told me that.
Stupid idea to be an actor, right?
Yeah, I was told not to be an actor. Now I'm signed with Marvel, and I have I made my character appearance on Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, set to go on Thunderbolts, and God knows where else after that. As soon as the strike hurries up and over, been on Stranger Things, going back for season 5. I don't want to really brag about it, but yeah, I made a little appearance on Gotham Knights, but that's a one and done. We all seen the series. Yeah.
It's not bragging, it's just your resume and your experience.
Yeah, hey, everybody, well, it was Gotham Knights, it had something to do with comic books, so that's why I went.
Absolutely.
But as far as the acting, I plan to be going back to finish out my agreement that I have to play through with my character. And then I like to focus on the comic book. I started the production company, Fate 68 Productions, to help put out the JP Cummings movie. But it looks like, since a lot not work, that I might end up letting somebody else produce it, as long as they, stick with the my agreement of what I want them to do, and move on to the next thing. I like to see a lot more. I like to see Dolls be an anime series. It's primed and ready to do that.
I can see that.
I want to do a lot. I got a lot more titles. We're looking to start a headquarters where we can do some production and have meetings. We have Mark DiCarlo doing covers for us. The great Mark DiCarlo brought y'all Lobo.
Mm-hmm.
We have Greg Bo Watson, who brings everybody those famous pinups. I used to work for Zenoscope and did work for Marvel and DC. I talk to him daily. Like, we became real close, and we put out a card set with his stuff. He's helped me through this whole transition. He's kept me out of more trouble than you can imagine, because he knows this industry in and out, and he sees the potential with us, and he's been backing us the whole time, and it's been great. He's been probably one of my, and I'm hoping that as things move forward, that will, like I said, he's given us the rights to a lot of his characters he's created, some of his stories and his art,
That's
because
generous.
he believes in us. And because he's done that, we're doing it justice and giving credit where credit is due. But I just want to keep on. I want to see where I eventually get to the point where I don't feel like I have to maintain control of the writing. But right now, until this story gets complete through, where we can kind of distance, I've got a bunch. I'm not ready to let go of that.
And that's understandable as a creative and as the author of the universe. You got to hold on to it. You got to nurse it as best you can. So out of curiosity, I saw on the what's on the background of our conversation, who did the artwork for the cover of Fate magazine #2? You happen to know?
Greg Bo. Oh, no. You talking about the #2? That's Sean Joyce. A lot of people don't know this. I was looking up here at my email pop up. Sean just sent me an email alert. He's showing me his progress on a cover he's doing for us for Living Dead Girl. Sean Joyce, someone that I feel like has been underrated and not been recognized as much for his contributions to the comic world. He actually used to do the Phantom comic book back a while back. He also was worked with Frank Frazetta way back when Frazetta first started, and learned how to do stuff.
I see some of the influence in that figure on the cover of Fate too.
Yeah, he actually he worked with George Lucas and company and did a lot of the mat work back then before there was computers. They used to hand draw mats. And so he was the guy that drew all
Like
those
Ralph McQuarrie and all
backgrounds.
them. Yeah,
Yes, he did
absolutely.
Willow, Star Wars, and some of the Star Trek movies. And his, if when you get issue 2, I put some pictures of him in there actually doing the mat work. So
Oh,
you'll get to
that's
read
great.
about
Now that's
everything he did.
collectors. That is something to
Yeah.
grab, especially if you're a huge Star Trek fan or a George Lucas fan, because those behind the picture scenes people love immensely, especially when they get to see old school way
Uh,
it's done before
this
computers.
guy deserves his book because the stories that he has shared with me since we brought him on has been, I mean, I get chills thinking about it. I'm like, dude, you're a legend. I mean, he's like 70 something years old and he's got stories that are just wasting away that need to be told. And I told him, I said, let me interview you. He he told me the story where George Lucas got with him and said, I want you to do a bust of my image. And I put the picture in the magazine. And he's got a story where he used to do busts of people because he was also a sculptor. And he
Hmm.
did one of George Lucas that George Lucas wanted him to do. And it's in the magazine. You'll see the one that he did. And I was like, you literally spoke to George. He goes, yeah. He asked me to do some work on his movies and do a bust for him. I went, and I said, why are you working for me again?
Yeah, it's like wow.
I don't get it.
You must feel like you hit the
Yeah.
jackpot with that
And the
one,
funny
man.
thing is he searched us out and I got a message and I had to I was like, this guy ain't for real. He goes, I like what you did. He got our pumpkin pinhead cover. And he says, I really like this idea and I like this comic. I would like to do some work with you. And I went, yeah, you full of it. And I took about 2 weeks learning who this was before I was like, I'm not handing you any money or bringing you on. So I found out he was legit. And I went, wow. He's done some covers for us already, and one of them was for Pumpkin, and he does them just like Frank Vazetta.
Oh yeah.
The man, he he deserves his own book. The stories he's got, the magazine should be in a 4-part of the things that he's got. It's one of those things that you don't hear about no more
Oh,
because a lot of
absolutely.
these legends are dying.
Which is true. And I love your excitement. I love your enthusiasm. It's actually quite infectious, if you don't mind me saying, just hearing you talk about your universe and people you work with. And even thumbing through also in this one, I got to read about his staff and the people who work with him. He's got some people with some nice ideas, good talent too. But I'm really hoping for the best for Fate 68 Comics in your future, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I hate to say it, I am too.
As well, you should. But I want to thank you so much for being on the show and sharing your incredible story and your fascinating story about how you created this universe and the success you've had. I hope you have much, much more.
Man, I'm more excited to be able to talk about it. I love doing these interviews and talking. And I don't care who I am or where I get. This is the kind of stuff I like, and I'm always going to do it.
Absolutely.
And I thank you for that.
Of course, you're very welcome. And like I said, guys, I'm going to leave links down below so you can go check out his amazing universe, and I hope you do. All right. You have yourself a good one.
You too, my friend.
All right.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed that interview with Jay Conelly and finding out about his journey from cop to comic book publisher. If you like the channel, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for future videos. Don't forget to visit my online store where you can find lots of cool swag with artwork done by yours truly. Until then, keep your fate in your own hands.